Ube, thanks so much for joining the show today.
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
I'm a long-term fan. Thanks for having me on the show.
Of
Aloha,
course.
kagiaka, everybody. Mabuhay. How's it going?
Hell yeah. Let's get started with a little bit of a background of your journey in design.
Yeah, sure. Let's see. My journey, I believe like since I was five, I've always been a designer, but my academia pretty much journey tells a different story. So initially I got into computer science, and at the time there was a struggle because there wasn't really a degree that was industrial design, which eventually was my calling. And so I went to UC Berkeley. I did computer science, but still just wanting to have that artistic urge. And I just didn't have the necessary like outlets where people can inform me of like, hey, like here's what you can explore, or here's like a digital version of what you're doing. So it was self-taught, and long story short, I came across industrial design. And that's where I went to California College of Arts and Crafts, did the BA there, and then a minor in graphic. But there I started to really uncover, like, what does everybody call it? HCD now. As I went through that, and as the industry started to shift more towards like a digital presence, it got to a point where I was doing furniture design, electronic design, and interface design. And interface design wasn't really on everybody's radar, but it was something to consider if you're going to design something that a consumer is going to interact with. But I didn't know it'd get to a point where it was just full on like digital experiences. So that's kind of my quick journey of my background.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that. And tell me a little bit about design leadership, what you're doing now, and that transition, because I know a lot of designers get stuck up on that.
Yeah. I mean, it's very difficult, and it's pretty much grass is greener. It isn't something where you have a certificate and of authenticity of like, hey, I'm gonna become like a design leader. For me personally, it just got to a point where, I was starting to have like a lot more visibility. The client accounts were getting a lot larger. And the displacement was becoming more and more from what initially I came into the profession for as a practitioner. Like that's something that I always try to stay true to, no matter how far removed I am from that. And that's design leadership, essentially. Maybe other people might have puppy dogs and ice cream stories of, hey, here's the track record, but me, it was more of upward development. Yes, getting higher pay rate, having the visibility. That's always something that everybody's trying to sell. Having the ability to like have the craft of why you came into this vertical or the verticals that you occupy. When it comes down to it, you're not necessarily doing what you wanted to do in the beginning. You're
Exactly.
more kind of teaching others or others that don't understand what you do, and trying to have them have an understanding of what you do. Same with like kind of client relations, or even selling a body of work. It's very difficult.
Yeah. No, it's definitely not what you were trained as. It's leading, it's managing, it's listening, it's politics. It's a different world.
It's meeting financial goals.
Yeah,
Like
time
if
management.
if I were to teach people, I'm like, hey, take a business degree, have the working knowledge of how to sell your work, the duration of it, how many resources that you can apply, or people that you can apply to that specific project, and to deliver the work yesterday. Clients will always be happy.
One of the things that you talk about that I wrote about a few years back that I still think's needed for
Mhm.
designers to hear is empathy for the user, empathy for the user, empathy for the user. But actually, I think it's also very important to have empathy for internal teams and internal stakeholders. Tell me about that.
I mean, to even go a step further, just like empathy for yourself, having that reflection, having that like time to just like kind of take a break and like see where things are in the world, in your general landscape. And what I mean by that is like your friend structure, your acquaintances, professionals. I mean, just go through all your compartments and like have that like general understanding and reflection in a way that is important to you as an individual? Like, what do you appreciate? What makes you kind of go further in your development? I can't answer that for you. I can figure it out for you, but everybody has like a different journey and story. Mine in particular is just like having that like genuine consistency on all levels. That's it. Whether I meet you as an acquaintance, whether you're a family member, or even if I meet you professionally, same branding, same person. There's no like fluctuations. And I think like that's the hardest thing to stay by and rigid and like focused on that. Like you need to have constant reflections like, hey, am I still myself? Am I still allocating time for family, myself, X, Y, and Z? And then you can start to open that aperture to those that are important to you, whether it's your team, maybe extended family members, friendships, but like it's the same across the board.
Yeah. I feel like so many people feel like they have to wear a different mask at work, which is unsustainable. But yeah, let's talk about
Yeah.
empathy for like product people too, because I just don't think or devs, like we don't understand everything they're doing. They don't understand everything we're doing as designers.
Shit was done right there. No, but like real talk, my way of having that like penetration or even that like that mindset that can align with those that don't understand what we do is having an understanding of what they do. And my background, knowing how to program, knowing how to do front end, back end development, even data science, like just, you don't need to like be like a deep dive into that specific like industry, but just have a working knowledge. Okay, it takes you X, Y, and Z to produce, let's just say, a visual website, to have a clickable, high-end fidelity wireframe. Awesome. How do we cut that in half where I get sleep, you get sleep, and you're not sweating over trying to produce like the next best thing? But like, I feel like a lot of leaders aren't, cultivating their teams in a way of like, hey, like what you're doing, that's like table stakes, that's it. If you don't do this, you're off. And you just shouldn't treat people like that in general, let alone in a professional setting. It's too much pressure. It's just very like hierarchical, like really flattening the overall kind of interaction. Like it's easy for people to say these buzzwords, and I've been in the industry, you've been in the industry for so long where, like people say buzzwords and they're like, yeah, I stand by that. But yeah, I'm authentic. Yeah, cool. I said the word that makes me, that's not, no, not at all. Just what I alluded to before, it comes from within, like, do you carry yourself like that as an individual before you can portray that to others? Everybody has a different definition, but like for me personally, like I look at these individuals of like, what are you trying to accomplish? What do you want to do? Not only within this organization, but like the exterior. What hobbies do you have? What's your favorite color? Like I'll even have like just quick little one-on-ones with the overall team. Hey, do you know what this person does? Just 5 minutes. Do you know what they do? Do you know when their birthday is? Do you know what their favorite color is? Maybe an ambition. That'd be kind of cool. That's bonus, but like you don't have to know it. And I think it's just healthy. And it's not just coming from me, but it's like me putting that in practice and like somewhat having an agency. Like I don't like to toss that word around because that means like a sense of structure and then like everybody kind of follows and lead, and interacting with individuals is organic,
Yeah. Should be.
Yes, it should.
What advice do you have for new designers entering the field today with, they're being bombarded with AI is going to take your job and it's a hard job.
That's always a big topic, isn't it? Let's see. So there's a different way of like coming across education. You have ways of doing like these satellite programs. You have ways of doing certificate offerings. You have these like kind of jam-packed, kind of sales as a service, just like, hey, you can do this in X, Y, and Z, or you could go to a formal college, whatever the mixology, like you can go about it in that way. But just have that like understanding, no matter what you learn as a craft, everybody else is learning that as well. So like, we always talk about the brand, but like I feel like the brand just embodies so much of everything. If I say, what do you want to work on as an individual? and what is going to separate you across the board. Usually you can come up and some type of formula of like, hey, this is going to set you, out from the audience. This is going to make you something that you just don't see on a daily basis. But like it also depends on that individual. If they want to be like part of the, design system and cog, do the same thing day in, day out, that's okay. But that's a specific type of person. If you want to kind of have that just like extra curricular work ethic, then you need to do X, Y, and Z. But like most people, when they say that, they're like, hey, like my brand's good. I got like a logo, I got like a website, I got like LinkedIn, like they have all these like assets. But like assets do not define who you are as an individual, and this is kind of going back of what I was saying of like, what can be that symbiotic relationship of what you provide, whether the tools have sundown or you have a new tool, you're always relevant. You know what I mean? So like a lot of the conversations, it's just like, okay, what is your methodology? Who are you? What is your style of working? How do you like to work? What are some tidbits that just make you different? Just think about it. You don't have to have an answer for me at the moment, but like just those questions are just irrelevant of the tools that are out there, the structures. This embodies also just kind of the development of AI. I don't want to say it's something that's like a passerby, but yes, it's very relevant. But I've been in the industry for what, 16, 17 years now, and I've seen a lot come and go, and people put like all these certificates on their CV and all these tools. And when it comes down to it, like I could just see somebody and know that they embody just structural methodologies of like, I can make you a great person, a great designer, a great practitioner. You don't even have to like label yourself.
I like that, the emphasis on like self-discovery beyond just the tools and the portfolios that all look alike. Like how
Yeah.
are you different?
But it's incredibly difficult. Like, in order to like achieve that or to like have this dialogue with people, you have to go through like the BS yourself.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to experience being like effed over. You have to experience seeing somebody, like,
So true.
oh, yeah,
Those
like,
are like the biggest learning opportunities is when you get screwed over at a job and it's like, okay, like that's what happened and how do I learn from it?
yeah. Or how do I teach somebody else to just like not be in that boat?
Yes.
But like, or it's just going to be repetitive and to just kind of set somebody up for failure. This is going to happen. Whether you meet your financial goals or not, like you're still going to essentially fail at this project, even if you deliver across the board. Now, stomach that, right? And there's going to be a reorg and you're going to have to fire 12% of your team. How do you come back to work with a smile the next day? I don't know.
Ube, thank you so much for joining the show today and sharing these insights.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much. Mahalo, everybody.